My book is called Zephyr the West Wind, you guys can see it here. It's a fantasy novel, and it's the first book in a 5-book series. I'm going to say a little bit about the book, and then I can go into why I wrote it. Zephyr really focuses on a 17-year-old boy or kid who is trying to change. He's trying to become a better person and kind of defeat the people around him who are pushing him down. And so I guess you can call it a life-changing story in that way in the story. Now, he also has supernatural powers, and that's why it's fantasy, and it has a large world with multiple characters who are very diverse and present different problems and different goals and such. So it has a wide variety of elements to offer. I started this story on, I guess, as a challenge to myself when I was a high school student. I was 17 years old, and I wanted to finish my first full novel. Up until that point, I had been writing forever, for my lifetime, which at that point I had written, I don't know, 300 stories or so, but I had never really finished a series or novel, and I wanted this to be the first. And I also wanted to just do something before I graduated high school, other than sports. And so that was my challenge, to finish this novel. And what happened though, as I wrote it and went through the process of writing it every day and going to school and everything, it was a life-changing experience for me and the people around me and so on. As I wrote this book, I really felt myself go into it. I really put a part of myself into this main character, which I have found a lot of people can connect with him just because he represents passion. Zephyr, the main character, he represents passion, goodwill, hard work, honesty, and really just trying to achieve his dreams, which I feel most people can connect with. And most people fall in love with the story because of that. He, like I said, he represents a big part of me too. At that time, I was a semi-pro soccer player, and I was trying out for a team called FC Barcelona, which is an international soccer team, and I actually made it. And I was super happy, and this book really influenced me to keep going because it was really difficult, as well as applying for colleges at that same time. Also, I mean, writing this book, I really based the characters off of a lot of people that I was actually going to school with, which I don't know if I should say or not, but I had a big influence who was the antagonist. He actually turned out to be the antagonist in my novel, and he was a bad soccer coach I had. And he was pretty cruel to most of the soccer players he had on his team. And so he became the main antagonist, and he really inspired me to find a way to defeat this person in this novel without actually killing him, which is more difficult than you think, or you might think. But it helped me work through a lot of like elemental issues that, you know, not killing someone, but a lot of other things, just like politics and how countries, like in this book, and cities might, you know, deal with their issues, and people in general, and how, for example, Zephyr, in the beginning of the story, he's hated by every single character on this island, and he has no idea why. And so he goes out to the world to find out why. He gets a chance to go out, and he does, and he explores. And I mean, that was a more peaceful situation rather than trying to confront these people and really getting aggressive with them, which I found that was interesting, and a different perspective. As I wrote this book, I had made a promise to myself that I wanted to do something that would help change other people and make them better. And Zephyr, the West Wind, I think has accomplished that so far with its audience that it has now, just like I said, because of its main elements and tied into it. And it is, I actually wrote this just to be a strong start to the 5-book series, which each book in this series actually has 4 separate main characters. And so this book had to be strong, and the main character had to be a driven part of me for me to write out this 5-book series, which I had outlined in my mind. I write fantasy just because I grew up with it. I grew up with Harry Potter. I was the same age as them, so that was about 10 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I love fantasy, and I read it all the time. I read it so much that that was all I could think about. And so that really influenced my writing and what I wanted to write. And I find that with fantasy, you can really show different perspectives because you can create these characters that have yourself in them, but other pieces people see within them from themselves. I could contrast and compare these characters as well. So that's really why I like fantasy, and I wrote Zephyr the West Wind.
Thank you. Interesting.